Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Around the Emirates podcast with Sara Mousa, where I speak to guests from across UAE about topics you want to hear about. Today, I'm joined by the incredible Helen McGuire. Hi, Helen.
Hello, nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. So, I've invited Helen to be on my show today because she is author of a book called The Female Founder Formula. Very exciting, very cool. Please tell me your story, Helen, and what inspired you to write this book.
Okay, so my story started back actually in around 2015. I've been in the UAE now for about 12 years. And when I had my first baby, I recognized there was a huge gap in the market for women coming back into the workplace. So whether it was my colleagues, whether it was friends, whether it was people I met at the time, there was a huge drop off essentially in women in the workplace. And there were, enormous incentives from a government top-down perspective as well to really address gender balance. We were just before the UAE Gender Balance Council had been formed, but there was certainly a huge move towards that. And there was nothing really in the private sector to meet that demand and kind of, join the dots on the whole thing. So I started a platform called Hopscotch, which some of your listeners may remember, ran for about 5 years. We moved as well over to Asia. We were hugely successful, won numerous awards, gathered a community of about 80,000 women globally. And when I recognized the impact that just gender was having on bias in the workplace and increase of diversity, I wanted to increase that impact out to other underrepresented communities as well. So looking at things like race, ethnicity, disability, neurodivergence, socioeconomic status, religion, you name it. So I set about creating an AI-driven platform, which was to be called Diversely. That was the first diversity, equity, and inclusion AI-driven platform that was created back in 2020. We raised just over $500,000 US for that business. And I had that business acquired last year. So I joined the 0.5% of female founders to have built and sold their business. And I guess the maybe surprising thing about this as well is that at the same time as building those businesses, I was also building a family. So I now have 3 young kids and, moved back from Singapore to the UAE. So it's been quite a journey. And when that business was acquired last year, I was approached by some book coaches and book publishers to say, would you like to tell your story? I'm sure there's lots of things that other female founders and those who are building businesses with families might find really useful in terms of your learnings and your what you've experienced. So that is where the Female Founder Formula came in. I started writing it as the business was acquired about a year ago, and it published just last month. So that is kind of how we got here.
Congratulations. What a colorful and incredible journey you've been through as an entrepreneur and also as a role model for the empowerment of women. I'm curious, what kind of challenges did you kind of experience on your journey and how did you overcome them?
I think from a personal perspective, obviously having the kids at the same time as having the businesses was a huge challenge. I was told in no uncertain terms by various different male investors and advisors that perhaps this should be more of a lifestyle business, that I should be less ambitious, even by some friends, some people in my circle who perhaps didn't get where I was going with it and what I really wanted to achieve, to put this on the back burner. And I found during that journey that actually there were very few relatable people that I could talk to who were sort of 5 steps ahead of me, who are perhaps also women or had families that they were involved with on a day-to-day basis, who were also building businesses and had these kind of ambitions, particularly in the, diversity, equity, and inclusion space. So it was very difficult to find a roadmap, to find a blueprint, to find relatable advice in this space. Most of the people that I met who were also on this journey were sometimes female, but typically single or without children. I know now that, business, particularly in the UAE, is driven by female founders. So there are around 30% of businesses in the UAE at the moment that are female founded. That number is only increasing. That's a typical trend across the world. I'm part of a community called Mums Building Businesses and Dads Building Businesses. So there is a huge amount of need and interest in specific advice to look at how to manage both things at the same time, put in place processes and frameworks that work for those who have responsibilities outside of just their business. So that was a huge challenge for me, and it was something that I really wanted to address by writing the book, essentially.
I appreciate that you took this as an opportunity to address that challenge. You didn't just see it as, oh, there may not be a huge foundation for women in general who have started businesses here, or, oh, women who are, mothers as well, having so many kids. But I like the fact that you turn your own experience and your own learnings as an entrepreneur as well before starting a family into something that so many women can learn from. And you made it so accessible too. So I really appreciate that. And this brings me to my next question for you. Is there a specific kind of experience or kind of story that you want to share that really had an impact on you?
Yeah, I think with my second business, it took me quite a long time to get that moving because I knew that I needed a co-founder who was adept at tech. So my background is much more in the communications and commercial side of things. So I knew that I had that side of things down, but actually finding somebody who was able to build the tech, do the code, and look at that side of it was definitely a huge challenge. And we built this business during COVID. So the business actually was built completely remotely. We were based, myself and my co-founder were based in Singapore at the time. We weren't even in the same room the vast majority of the time that we were building the business. And neither did we meet any of our investors in person. That's still the case for the majority of them, regardless of kind of going to events and managing to network and mingle with people. But even off the back of that, and even having created it in that kind of environment and in that kind of void almost, we gained 18 investors. We built a community around the business that eventually led to the business's sale. We built a network that was remote and online. We hired all of our staff remotely as well. So they worked from places all over the world, from the US, UK, Nigeria, Vietnam, you name it. So I guess my message there is that despite the circumstances you might find yourself in, there is always a way around this, particularly in the modern world, to get things moving in the direction that you want to. And actually, sometimes having that point of difference and having that kind of challenge can really be a huge advantage. So don't let that put you off if that's something that you might be facing right now.
I love that you're really opening up and being so candid about what an exciting journey you've had and the fact that you've had so many businesses with across so many countries. Like that's crazy that you've been able to be in a room or a virtual room with
Yeah.
investors and never having met them before in person. So it's really inspiring to see somebody who has really not allowed any kind of challenge or obstacle get in her way. And you've kind of already touched on this already with your words of advice there. But as an established and successful entrepreneur who has kids and is balancing, the social life with the personal life with your day-to-day job, and plus obviously your new book now, is there any kind of final message or word of advice you'd like to leave with the listeners today?
Yeah, I think something that I really struggled with was asking for help when I first started. It's a very classic, I think, entrepreneurial trait, actually, but also very classically female to kind of imagine that you have to do everything yourself and have it all figured out. That is absolutely not the case. I didn't have any of this stuff figured out when I started. I just started. And I think as I've gone along, and particularly this year, as I've launched the coaching program and mentoring and advisory and started working with other founders, I've invested more in myself. So I've started investing time, resources in looking for people who are me in 5 years' time. So looking for people who have done what I want to do and are where I want to be in the future, working closely with them so that I can build towards that without falling in a lot of the potholes, without kind of lacking the roadmap that I have right now, or that I had in the past. And I think that is a huge learning for me. It's something I would highly recommend anybody out there who's thinking of starting a business, or is perhaps, a couple of years in and is just kind of a bit lost and lacking that understanding of where to go next, of how to scale it, of how to progress with their business, is look for somebody who inspires you, who's in your space, who is relatable, and who can help you to map that out, because it will accelerate your growth immensely. So, you know, there's lots of people out there on LinkedIn. I can certainly help perhaps connect some dots there as well. So do feel free to reach out. But I would say that has really made such a huge difference in the rate of my progress with both the businesses and now with what I'm doing with the book and with the courses.
That is beautiful. It's the fact that you have offered a complete like database in every way, shape, or form to help people, but also that really important message of thinking long term. It's not just about kind of the next kind of 6 months or the next year. Who do you want to be in 5 years? You know, to surround yourself by that kind of influential circle and those people that also think like you, but also are, you know, are where you want to be 5 years from now. And it's really important to always kind of push yourself and be surrounded by people that will challenge you as well. And whether it's through your kind of your training, whether it's through your book, whether it's just through a conversation with you, it's wonderful to see people like you out there that is really giving people that boost that they need to think, I can do this too. So thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's lovely to be here.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.